This is 50.com. The Heineken is here.
It's your boy CEO Chris Holder holding it down.
Jeff Johnson, host, producer, creator of Man Cave. What's up?
Man Cave, I'm loving the concept of the show and the direction you're going in with it. I think it's very needed in today's climate, and especially we rarely get the male perspective. I mean, amongst us, we have our guy talk, whether it be at the barbershop, at the bar, kicking in for the game, whatever, but I think it's needed for the women to see what's going on when men are interacting. What made you come up with this concept or even put this all together?
Yeah, I mean, my thing was there's nowhere on TV where you see men talk about anything except sports.
Right.
I mean, and I like that. It's cool, but we talk about everything. And what really was crazy, even in the early, and I don't think I've ever told this story on air, in the early days of trying to get the show conceptualized, there was a woman who was part of the executive team of one of the production companies. And she was like, well, all guys talk about is sex and sports. She was serious as hell. And I'm like, this is the reason why we need this show. Because I don't care whether you been in college for 20 years and got a PhD or whether you on the street. We talk about everything. And so I wanted to create a show that showed the complexity of men, how we talk, and that we allow people to break boxes. So I also made this show for me because I got tired of people thinking I don't talk about shit except politics and the news.
Right.
Like there's people think I don't laugh.
I want to touch on that because I saw a few interviews where you were making reference to that, because it's like, why did you go from? It's like almost to an extent it was like you went down, like you went backwards, and it's like people viewed it as sort of like, no, y'all not really grasping the bigger picture. So my thing was like, what happened when you just like, yo, listen? Because in one interview, it's like, yo, I wasn't having fun. So I'm doing this because I want to have fun. I can easily go back, and it's not like I'm not out of it. It's just that I'm adding this to it. So that transition where you're like, listen, this what I have more to offer than just what you see here.
Well, and who only wants to be part of yourself? Like as black men, we deal with that too much anyway. So there's a whole lot of us that we have to be who we are at work. We have to be who we are at home because wifey or baby mama or the kids need us to be this.
Yeah,
we got to be this on the block because otherwise we don't survive. We got to be this in corporate or otherwise our grind gets stopped. But seldom is there a place we get to be our whole self. And my thing is, if I'm going to do content, I don't want to be just a piece of me. I don't want to be the guy that you. Man, I was at the club and people stopping me want to talk about damn politics, and I'm like, nigga, chill. Let me buy you a drink, And let's just look at these chicks for a minute. I mean, because
I get it. Listen.
Because that's not my whole life, and so I just think that there are a lot of men who get typecast, and so there are people who have been watching this show like, I didn't even know I really liked Tank until this show.
That I agree. I was like, I said, why is Tank here? Then he started talking and trolling and giving perspectives. I said, mother.
Right. So, but all of us deal with that. So I wanted to create a show for that, and I think you see it in our guests too.
You've had Steve Harvey on,
and the real Steve Harvey.
I know.
Like the real, not the little big shot Steve Harvey.
Yeah.
And that was because listen, I didn't want Steve on the show.
Because of what?
What up, bro?
No, listen.
I was like, Steve, man, get out of here.
No, but like, Steve made this show happen though. Like, so Steve was co-EP, and listen, BT was willing to do this show because Steve was attached to it, and so Steve believed in this show before there was a real concept to it. But Steve is making a lot of network money, and so I'm like, is he gonna come into the cave and be NBC Steve, or is he gonna come in the cave and be Cleveland Steve? And the cave is therapeutic, man. You can't fake in the cave.
I know.
So he came in as the real Steve, and it was brilliant. I loved it.
What were some things that you needed to get established off the show that you wanted to give a perspective from the black man's point of view?
I mean, I wanted us to be able to. I think more than topic was freedom. Like, so. Most of our guests come on the show, and it takes them like 15 minutes to get accustomed to the fact that we're talking the way we are. There's no hold barred. Like Jermaine Dupri was like, "Niggas, what are y'all doing?" Because normally that's not what you get when you come on cable TV. So the thing that I've loved the most is everybody that comes on the show being able to be their full self. Now, I've enjoyed when we've given cats a space to say on our show what they probably won't say anywhere else. So when Lamar came on the first episode and was like, Chloe was dope. Like, I loved her. I think she's gonna be a good mom. That was great TV.
Speaking of which, I can't wait to see what y'all guys say about Tristan Thompson.
The whole thing, as soon as I saw it, I was like, how they gonna flip this one? Because I'm saying the entire time, me and my wife always have this conversation. And I was like, all of them guys cheat. Just some of them are smarter than others. And she's like, no, this person's this, and his wife is already in the light. He's not gonna be dumb enough to do it. I'm like, nah, he's pretty dumb. It's like, we all dumb. I said, that's it has nothing to do with
men
anything.
are dumb.
So,
men are dumb.
It's just how sophisticated you are with your unintelligence.
Well, and timing is everything too, and I don't think people recognize. We talked about this with Sway earlier. Like, I don't think people get that there are a lot of dudes who cheat when their wife is pregnant, and there's a lot of dudes who cheat when their wife is pregnant because we got weak ass egos. So when your wife is pregnant, it's about everything is about her and the baby.
Yeah.
I don't care if you play ball.
Right.
I don't care if you do comedy shows. I don't care what you do.
So
It's all about, so at some point, our egos are so damn fragile. We need shorty to stroke the ego.
Right.
And normally wifey is waiting on us to stroke the belly to help her birth this child, not stroke our ego. And niggas fall prey to a big ass that's like, nigga, you great.
you great.
When at the house, it's about the baby.
Is that what you think happened to Kevin Hart?
I think that's what happens to a lot of people. I've done it. I was that in my first marriage. I was that dude. I mean, I think that it happens to a lot of guys. And I mean, there are studies that have been done about men who cheat during pregnancy.
I was talking to certain individuals, and they said when you get to that level of money, you're supposed to be ordering high-level hookers. Can't be going around with thoughts.
And the challenge is that means that you are making a conscientious intellectual decision.
Of course.
Like when your ego is weak, this bitch just made me feel good in the moment. Right? So it's one thing to say, yes, you're supposed to have enough money to think clearly enough to protect yourself, but that don't have nothing to do with ego and emotion. And as much as men, as we try to pretend like we don't fall prey to that, we fall prey to that more than women do sometimes. We just don't admit the shit.
I agree with you on that.
Well, Chris Rock said that a man is going to be as faithful as the options he has available to him.
Yes, Chris did say that.
So I remember hearing that. He said it was like, I remember when it was, and I was like, God damn, that's so like, it was like I like.
He was talking about Orrin Hatch. He's like, Orrin Hatch, and like I'm like hitting all these holes, right?
Right. So my thing is, like, I heard that, and like it literally just stuck with me, and I started thinking. I was like, nah. I was like, but then again, I was like, nah. But then you start looking at the trend.
Men are as faithful as their commitment to legacy.
Explain that for because legacy is a word that's interesting. It can be very broad. It can mean in terms of children or
It
how they're viewed in
ultimately
the public.
means that I make decisions based on what's in my best interest long term. And so divorce, fractured homes, damaged kids, split income ain't legacy.
Right.
And so if I make decisions that ultimately are in the best interest of my legacy, those are guys. It doesn't mean you don't cheat.
I understand.
It means you cheat different, or you don't cheat. Because at some point, why am I going to do anything that's going to jeopardize my legacy? But part of that too is don't get with chicks who's the meantime chick.
Right.
Don't marry the meantime chick. Don't have babies with the meantime chick. Because you always going to be looking for something else. She was the meantime chick to begin with. Why make her the full-time chick?
Well, you figure most guys are like, well, this is as good as I'm gonna get. And they don't really. I think a lot of guys may not see beyond that, because a lot of dudes will get married. Like, I know dudes, right, marrying certain particular.
The only dudes who believe that is dudes is Wiz Khalifa, who is with Amber Rose.
Okay.
Like you know when you have received greater than you've ever had before.
Right.
Most dudes' egos tell them they can get. That's why old niggas is in the club.
Right.
Because they're confused that they can get chicks they can't get.
Yo, that's real shit. But at a certain point, you got to get to the age and be like, you got to pay the ticket, bro. You're not Denzel, where it's like you can still get young joints.
I believe that.
Huh?
I don't believe that.
Money buys you certain
Right,
things.
right.
And fame buys you certain things. So let's be clear.
Yeah.
Right,
But that ain't everybody.
right.
I agree.
Right. Well, one of the things, kind of just shifting, but staying in that same area, when it comes to getting married, having kids, when you had your first, what changed there? Was there like a light that, okay, now that I have this kid, I don't want this kid to see me in this light? Or was it kind of like, ego? This?
No, I was young, man. I was 26. So, so I wanted to be a dad. So I was always present in my daughter's life, and then I had a son shortly thereafter. So I was on the grind for them,
Right.
but I wasn't mature. I wasn't in a great marriage. I was out here doing whatever. So I was not positioning myself in the best interest of my kids.
Okay.
I was positioning myself in my best interest of me. So you can be available. Like I played with my kids and I loved my kids and I paid for private school and I made sure stuff was there. But no, I wasn't ready, man. I made a lot of mistakes that, in hindsight, I wish I would not have made. I wish I would have gotten divorced sooner.
Okay.
Because my ex-wife didn't deserve that. I didn't deserve that, and my babies didn't deserve that. And I wish I'd have turned some of this pussy down, because at the end of the day, at some point, certain activity take away from who it is you're supposed to be and how you're trying to move. And so I don't succumb to that stuff. That's just what men do. That's what boys do.
Right.
Yeah.
Men are strategic about the moves that they make. And the moves that they make are about investment that ultimately adds to their life. And that doesn't mean you're perfect. Doesn't mean you perfect, but it does mean you're not reckless. And I was reckless.
What did Black Panther mean to you?
Oh, Jesus.
I can see you love culture across the board. It was shocking to me.
Yeah, I
to
remember being a kid the first time I watched the Warriors. And I watched the Warriors, and I left Eric Smith's house ready to be in a gang, and I lived in the suburbs. It just spoke to me at a visceral level. I don't remember the last time a movie spoke to me the way Black Panther did, on an intellectual level, on a spiritual level, on a cultural level, and on a supernatural level. I wanted to be from Wakanda,
Right.
and I wanted the scene at the United Nations to be real.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think it did a couple things. I wrote a piece about it for NBC. I think three big things for me. Number one, it showed me that we have got to stop believing we don't have enough. We have everything we need and we don't need anybody else. Doesn't mean we don't work with anybody else. Don't mean we don't roll with anybody else. We got to stop pretending like what we have is not enough. Two, it showed me that we need leadership that is both men and women. One of the dopest pieces of that movie was that despite the fact that most of the chiefs were men, that the king was a man, the warriors were women. The scientists were women. The spiritual leadership was women. Men in our community have got to stop feeling like women gaining strength takes away from ours.
This is a show about men, expressing their emotions, their ideas, their vulnerability, their strength. And I've seen women say, why when men speak about things, they almost say as if men are complaining. And we're supposed to internalize things, especially as Black men. We're supposed to internalize it, deal with it, not speak about it. Have you run into that obstacle from
all
women?
The time. All the
Especially
time.
from women too?
Well, yeah, because listen, women in most cases are still developing manhood, either between what the women in their life told them because there wasn't no dudes there, or the men in their life. And most of the Black men we know have not been taught to be transparent. They have not been taught to talk about their feelings. They have not been taught to show weakness. And so why would most of us see that? And so, because it's crazy, right? There are times, I had to tell one of my homegirls, she was complaining about her guy. And I'm like, this dude just did everything you said you wanted him to do, and then you said, why you acting like a bitch? I'm confused. He told you what his feelings was. He went against everything in him to let you into what his head was saying. And then you said, why you acting like a bitch? Because you were afraid to be vulnerable when he had just been vulnerable. So no, we got a lot of work to do.
On both parties, I
And that's
agree.
part of why Man Cave is so important, because we need to be able to create spaces for guys to be vulnerable and still show that there's strength in vulnerability. Being vulnerable is not weak. Shit, one of the hardest things to do is be vulnerable. So there's strength in vulnerability, but we're flipping culture. So we got to find a way to have conversations about this stuff differently. That's why what y'all are doing is so important.
So I wanted to, obviously it's not enough time, so I'm trying to see where I can get some of these questions in that's in my head. So in reference to Man Cave, one of the things when I saw this show, the first thing I said was, who's going to try to fight to get this show off the air? Here's my first thought. I was saying, man, me and my wife talk about this all the time. We go, they ain't shit for us to watch. And then we start looking, and my wife's like, well, we really pay attention to trends in television. Like, all right, that ain't shit that's going to make us dumber. That ain't going to be good for our daughter, whatever. So every time we see a show where it's like, yo, this is secretly great content. Like, secretly education, secretly building us up. And anytime there's something that they always try to cut it. So my whole thing with the show is, have you felt any type of tension from people realizing that this is actually uplifting? Like, this is a build-up. Because I've heard, I mean, obviously I'm just talking to people around, and a lot of the people that I have, like a lot of my friends who are Caucasian or Chinese or my business partners, I'll go and they're like, I like it, you should check this shit out. They're like, nah, man, I ain't trying to hit none of that Black Power stuff. Right? I'm like, I need Black Power. It's just funny. Like, it's good. So, in your space, have you felt any of that? Have you just been like, nah, I never really thought about it? But do you feel that?
No.
Okay.
It's actually been crazy how little hate we've gotten. It's almost scary.
Okay.
So like, even when you look at the social media responses, it's like 98% positive, which is like unbelievable. Like Black Twitter be wanting to hate just because
All the
you
time.
on.
Yeah.
So I think the people that watch it, it really speaks to them. Even the people that have been critical, it's almost been in a helpful kind of way. We wish you would do that. Why y'all cuss so much? I can't believe y'all use the N-word.
Right.
But they watching.
You're right.
So, no, I mean, I think that might come.
Okay.
As we continue to do a second season.
Right.
But what's interesting, I run a communications firm, and I got a call from, I got a text from 56-year-old white CEO in the Midwest. He was like, yo, is Slink really like that? Like, he loves Slink.
Right.
And so I think the thing is, when you have authenticity, it's universal.
Right.
And so I don't even know if a lot of these folks see it as Black power as much as they see it as men's power.
Right.
And you know, the it remains to be seen. But I'm hearing there have been a lot of white men that talk about how much they love the show. In fact, when we wrapped for the first season, one of the guys on the crew came to me and was like, Jeff, I know this show might not have been focused on me. He said, but being with y'all for the last 12 weeks has made me a better dad.
Right. And I'll tell you that the beautiful thing about the show is that, one, ain't nothing like it on. So that's the first thing. But two, the idea that I know a lot of people who are afraid to ask questions and get into the mind of us, or they get to like, literally it's like they're taking notes, like, oh, that's why that makes sense. So I've seen that side of it as well. So you're someone that, if you look, I just look at the trend for the dreads now, the transition, right? So where do you go from Man Cave? I mean, granted, it can keep, like, you seem like someone who likes to take something and it's got to be bigger, or it's going to be more of an impact overall. Where are you going? Where do you think you're going next? Even if it's not clear yet, what's the clouds looking like?
Well,
right
thank you. That's a compliment. I try to evolve as much as possible. But no, we've got a company called Man Stories Media. Our goal is, how do we make more content with men at the center of it? So it doesn't mean it's shows just for men, but it means it's content featuring men.
Okay.
So we're in negotiations on a travel show, we're in negotiations on a game show, we're in
All of it's
negotiations
needed.
on a reality show, but all of it has men at the center of it, and is a way to, how do we show men authentically, but also in a way that women want to watch it. Because to me, that's the formula. Like,
Of course.
you can't have a man-focused show that's not sports, because we just don't watch TV that way. And Man Cave has been dope in showing me that, like you, I had more sisters hit me saying, I'm watching this with my man, I'm watching this with my husband. I thought my husband was lying, and now I realize he wasn't. I'm like, damn, really? Like, you didn't believe your husband, but you believe Slink? So no, it's
hilarious.
The goal is, how do we keep creating content that keeps showing the complexity of men in an entertaining way, and beyond black men, like hardcore polyethnic urban men. My kids are getting ready to be in college, and I say to them, I don't care what you major in, as long as you understand either the technology or the finance behind what you do. Okay. If you don't understand either the technology or the finance behind what you do, you always going to work for somebody else.
This year's NBA. Okay, so the playoffs is coming.
Let's close it out on this.
I want you to be real careful about the question you asking me when you see the hat I got on.
Right.
When you see the hat I got
That's
on.
who I'm rooting for, man.
So I'm gonna throw. So we're gonna throw. So the basic first question is on the East, right? We're just gonna throw it out there. Even though it's there, we gotta put it out there. Who's winning the East? I'm just gonna put that's the first one. But we got it's verbalized. I need it out there. Okay.
The Cleveland Cavaliers
are
winning the East.
Who's winning the West? Who is Cleveland gonna play to win the championship?
So, I want to see Houston.
Okay.
I just think Golden State is tough to beat in 7 games.
Okay. So they're getting out the first round.
Who?
Golden State.
Yeah, they're gonna get out of the first round.
You know who they playing in the first round, right?
Yeah.
OKC.
I know.
Without Steph.
Yeah, but let's be honest. Without Steph, you still got 3 All-Stars.
Let me ask you this though. This one question though. I want to close it out on this. What was your thoughts when LeBron was suing Nick Saban because he felt like Nick Saban stole his idea with the barbershop television show? Because one thing we spoke about is black men being the forefront of creating content. Do you think LeBron has a real gripe? Because people were like, that type of content has been around for years.
Listen, my thing is, when white guys do that, we say they doing good business. When black people do it, we say they crying. Fuck Nick Saban. And my thing is, if LeBron, let the lawyers figure that out. If the lawyers say that he has no claim, then he has no claim. But if he had an idea that was on TV and had and there's some intellectual property connected to it, fight for it. Because we always the one, no, don't do that, don't rock the boat, don't. No, and these white boys going hard on 10,000.
Exactly.
And we don't. So no, I mean, I think LeBron and his team, Maverick and them, are doing an amazing job at business. Yeah. I think they represent what the future should be for how cats look at how they grow their team, how they support their team, how they build their team, and how everybody eats. I love it.
Can LeBron ever surpass Jordan? Let's close it out on this.
Okay,
Jeff.
so no. Jordan changed basketball in a way I don't think any other player has or will. Kareem is the best player of all time.
Understood. Jeff Johnson, BT Man Cave, check it out.
You mad at that? He's like, I don't want to end on that.
Let's go.